She married a man with no past, then found documents that shocked her. Part 1. The Man Who Arrived from Nowhere. When May first met Jian, the thing that struck her was the quiet. Not awkward silence, but a kind of stillness, like he carried an entire forest inside him. She met him on a humid summer evening in Guangzhou, when a thunderstorm had sent everyone scrambling for shelter inside her uncle's tea house. Jian walked in with his shirt drenched but his posture straight, like a soldier trying not to show he was freezing. Her uncle complained about the dripping water. May brought him a towel. When she handed it to him, he smiled slightly.
"Thank you," he said.
"I wasn't expecting the rain." "What were you expecting?" she teased. He paused as though searching for an answer that didn't exist. "Something else, I suppose." He didn't speak much after that, but he stayed in the corner seat until the storm passed, fingers tapping a tense rhythm on the table. When he finally left, May felt as though a quiet mystery had walked out with him. He returned 2 days later. Then again, the next week. Soon, he wasn't a stranger. He was part of her days. But he never talked about his past. When May asked where he was from, he answered, "Many places." When she asked about family, he said, "None I keep in touch with." When she asked what he did before moving here, he said simply, "Something different." He wasn't hiding in the dramatic sense. He just lived like a man who had burned all bridges behind him. Yet he was gentle. He cooked for her. He fixed appliances in her apartment. He listened to her complain about work and laughed at her small jokes. He loved flowers, stray cats, and long walks by the river.
Kind.
Steady.
Wise.
But empty, like he'd cut out half his life. And May, despite the whisper in her mind saying this was strange, loved him anyway. They married a year later. Part 2. The First Crack in the Quiet Shell. 3 months into their marriage, Jian started waking up at 3 a.m., gasping like a drowning man breaking through water. Nightmares. He never told her what they were about, only that they're old memories. But that meant he had memories, ones he refused to share. One night, May found him sitting at the kitchen table, holding a chipped mug, staring into nothing. The lights were off. "Jian," she whispered. He flinched, turned toward her, and forced a smile. "Couldn't sleep," he said. His hands were trembling. "Tell me what's going on," she pleaded, placing her hands on his. He looked tortured for a moment. "May, sometimes not knowing is safer." Safer for whom? She wondered. But he didn't explain. Part 3. The Accident. The day everything changed was a Tuesday. Jian was riding his scooter home when a truck skidded on wet pavement, clipping him and sending him crashing onto the sidewalk. He broke 2 ribs and took a hit to the head. The hospital kept him under observation for 2 days. On the second night, he finally fell asleep deeply enough for May to step out and get fresh air. She returned just before sunrise to find him asleep in a strange position, half slipping off the bed. When she tried to adjust him, something hard poked against her palm from under his pillow. She reached under it. Her fingers touched a plastic folder. A hidden folder. She froze. Jian never kept things hidden from her. He had no wallet stuffed with secrets, no locked drawers, no mysterious keys. He lived like a man terrified of leaving traces. But here, under his pillow, May pulled the folder out. It was heavy. Inside were documents.
Names. Dates.
Photos. She whispered, "What is this?" And as she read, her breath left her body. Part 4. A name that wasn't his. The first shock. Jian's real name wasn't Jian. The document said, Li Haoran, born 1987, Chengdu. A completely different city. A completely different identity. May felt a crack open beneath her ribs. Her husband wasn't her husband. Not legally. Not truthfully. Not at all. But this was only the beginning. She found a government ID card, very real, very official, with Jian's face but a different name and age. Next was a certificate of employment from a special forensics division in Sichuan. That wasn't a normal department. She had never heard of it. Then came photos. 11 photographs. All disturbing. Each showed Jian or Haoran standing next to what looked like burned buildings, demolished apartments, charred vehicles, crushed debris, scenes of disaster. But in each photo, hauntingly, he wasn't wearing rescue gear or police uniform. He wore plain clothes, always standing at the edge, not helping, not reporting, just observing, like a ghost at the scene of tragedy, or someone who arrived before anyone else. The last photo nearly made her drop the folder. It was a surveillance still, time-stamped 6 years ago. It showed Jian in a crowd, but standing directly behind a man who was later circled in red marker. A man who looked wealthy, confident, and terrified, as though he sensed someone behind him. Below the photo was handwritten text. Target 0. Protect at all costs. Target.
Protect. But why?
And why Jian? Part 5. He wakes up. Mei was still staring at the documents when a soft voice came behind her.
Mei.
She whipped around. Jian was awake. His eyes were open, wide with fear. Mei, he repeated quietly. Put those back. Her hands shook.
Her throat felt dry.
What are these? She whispered. He swallowed hard. You shouldn't have found them. That's not an answer. He sat up slowly, wincing at the pain in his ribs. I didn't want this life touching you, he said softly. Mei, please.
Give them to me.
No, she said, trembling but firm. You owe me the truth. Something in his eyes collapsed. He exhaled like a man stepping into a confession he'd been running from for years.
Fine, he said.
But once you know, you can never unknow it. Part 6. The job that erased him. He began speaking in a low, even voice. Years ago, I worked for a government-linked unit. Not police. Not military. Something in between. Doing what? Mei asked. Witness protection, he said. But not the kind you're imagining. She frowned. Our work wasn't about hiding criminals. It was about protecting civilians, specific people identified as future targets. People who'd witnessed things they weren't supposed to. People whose deaths would destabilize delicate situations. So, you were a bodyguard? She pressed.
No, he said.
More like a shadow. Someone who appears before danger reaches them. She stared. Those photos, those disasters? He nodded slowly. We were always sent before an accident. Before an explosion. Before a fire. We never prevented them. We were sent to extract the target before it happened. But why didn't the public know? He met her eyes. Because the disasters were not accidents. The words landed like stones. Mei whispered. What do you mean? Jian looked exhausted, haunted. Many of the disasters you see on the news, gas leaks, building collapses, factory fires, are not random. They're orchestrated by people fighting for power, money, influence. Sometimes criminal groups. Sometimes corporations. And sometimes even, he hesitated, people inside our own structures. Mei's stomach turned. You were the ones saving the chosen few, she said.
Yes.
Until one day I refused. He looked away. Protecting the right people means abandoning everyone else. One time, just once, I tried to warn the residents inside a building scheduled to accidentally explode. His voice cracked. They silenced the entire neighborhood. Mei covered her mouth. Jian's jaw tightened. I realized I had become part of a machine that sacrifices innocent lives. So I walked away. Just like that, she said. No, he smiled bitterly. You don't walk away from them. You vanish. Erase your name. Become someone with no past. So you became Jian, she whispered.
Yes.
And I buried Howren. His eyes softened. Until I met you. Part 7. The document he feared most. Mei flipped through the folder again. A final sealed envelope remained. What's in here? She asked. Jian stiffened. I never wanted you to open that. What is it? He hesitated, then whispered. A death certificate.
Mei froze.
He looked at her with heartbreaking sadness. My death certificate. She opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was an official document. Li Howren, declared deceased. Cause of death, structural collapse due to gas explosion. Date, 6 years ago. Status, body unidentifiable. Her vision blurred. You're legally dead? Yes, he said quietly. The day I vanished, they staged my death. No one looked for me. No one cared. That's why I believed I could build a new life. With you. His voice cracked. But then I learned something that changed everything. He reached into the folder and pulled out a smaller photograph. A face May had never seen. A teenage girl, maybe 17, with a shy smile. Who is she? May asked. My sister.
May blinked.
But you told me you had no family, because I thought she died in the collapse that supposedly killed me. His hands shook as he held the photo. But 3 months ago, I received a message. No sender ID. Just this picture and a sentence. He handed her a small scrap of paper. The message said, she's alive, and they're using her to find you. May felt goosebumps rise. Jian whispered, they know who I am. They know I survived. They know I'm with you. His next words shattered her. And they're coming. Part 8. The night everything broke. The power went out that night. At first, May thought it was ordinary. Blackouts weren't uncommon. But Jian stood up instantly, alert. They're here, he whispered. A cold shiver ran down her spine. From the window, she saw 2 black cars parked outside the building.
No headlights.
No sound. Jian grabbed her hand. We need to leave. Now. But where will we go? She whispered. Somewhere they won't expect. He pulled her toward the door, but the hallway outside was already filled with the faint creak of footsteps. Jian's breath hitched. They're faster than I thought. He ushered her toward the fire escape, pushing her ahead of him. Go. Keep low. They rushed down flight after flight in darkness, hearing heavy boots echo above them. Halfway down, May heard a voice from the stairwell above.
Liu Ran.
Stop. Jian froze. May felt him trembling. The voice was cold and familiar. Too familiar. It belonged to someone who once gave him orders. They ran down the last set of stairs and burst into the alley. Jian pulled her into the shadows behind a dumpster. Boots thundered down behind them. Flashlights cut through the darkness. But Jian was calm. He held May's face between his hands. Whatever happens, he whispered, remember, you are the only real thing in my life. Tears filled her eyes. Don't say that. We'll make it. Jian gave a sad smile. I hope so. He took her hand, and they ran. Part 9. The Safe House. Jian led her through narrow alleys until they reached an abandoned warehouse on the city outskirts. This place was built by the old team, he said. I doubt they expect me to use it. Inside, he revealed a hidden storage hatch beneath the floor. Inside were 2 bags, a hard drive, a sealed envelope,
A gun.
May stared at the weapon. You said you left that life. I did, he whispered. But that life didn't leave me. He handed her the envelope. Open it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. A name. A hospital. A ward number.
May blinked.
This is... Yes, Jian said softly. My sister. May covered her mouth.
She's alive.
In a private facility. They kept her hidden, a hostage. Leverage to control me. He looked at May, pained. I found out where she is. I was planning to go after her. But now they've forced our hand. May felt the weight of the truth settle in. We'll save her together, she said. He looked stunned. You'd come with me? Of course, she whispered. You're my husband. Your family is mine. For the first time, she saw real tears in his eyes. But before he could reply, the warehouse doors screeched open. They had been found. Part 10. The Escape. Jian grabbed May's wrist and sprinted toward the back exit. Shots echoed behind them. Loud, sharp, shattering the silence. May's heart pounded. They ducked behind machinery as flashlights flooded the space. Jian fired a warning shot. This is your last chance, Eli Howren, a voice shouted. Come out, and we won't hurt her. Jian stiffened. May, they're not talking about you, he whispered. What? They brought my sister. May felt her breath freeze. They know I won't run if she's here. Jian stood slowly, raising his hands. Wait. May whispered, grabbing his shirt. He gently moved her hand off. I have to protect both of you. He stepped out into the open. May watched, hidden behind crates, shaking with helplessness. She saw them. 4 men in tactical gear. And a girl, thin, weak, terrified, being held by the arm. Jian's sister. Let her go, Jian said, voice breaking. The leader smirked. Come quietly, and she walks away. May's nails dug into her palm. They were lying. She could feel it. Then Jian did something unexpected. He raised both hands and said loudly, You want the truth?
Fine.
I didn't come alone. The men froze. A split-second distraction, but enough. Jian dropped to the ground. The lights suddenly went out. Total darkness. May didn't know how he did it, but she heard him shout, Run! And she did. Footsteps thundered. Shots fired. Screams echoed. Someone grabbed May's arm, but not roughly. Jian's voice whispered, Go! They sprinted out the back as the warehouse erupted into chaos. Jian's sister stumbled behind them, guided by May's arm. They didn't stop running until dawn. Part 11. The Final Truth. They hid in an abandoned farmhouse at the edge of the countryside. Jian tended to his sister, who was weak and malnourished. May sat beside him. Will they come again? She asked. Jian looked out the window, watching the first rays of sunlight. They will always come, he said softly. But I won't let them touch either of you. His sister whispered. They won't stop. Gidge, you know why. Jian closed his eyes. Yes, he said. Because I know something they want buried. May turned to him. What is it? He hesitated, then finally said the truth. I know who orchestrated all those disasters and why. His voice was ice. And I have the evidence. That hard drive we took, it contains every file I ever collected. Enough to expose the entire operation. May felt her pulse racing. Then we need to release it. Jian looked at her with pride. I always knew you were braver than me. He squeezed her hand. But once we expose them, my life ends. The real one. The hidden one. Everything. May shook her head fiercely. You don't disappear again. Not this time. If they come for you, they come for me too. Tears filled his eyes. He leaned his forehead against hers. I love you, he whispered. I love you too. Part 12. The Choice. The sun rose slowly, casting warm light across the broken, quiet fields. Jian opened the hard drive. The files glowed on the screen, names, dates, locations, payments, orders, classified communications. The whole rotten system. Everything. He hovered his finger over the upload button, the start of a chain reaction that could topple powerful people. May placed her hand over his. No more secrets, she said. No more running. Let the world see the truth. He looked at her, at his sister, at the rising sun, and he clicked. Epilogue. The man with a new future. The files spread across the internet within hours. News stations exploded. Investigations launched.
People resigned.
Arrests were made. But Jian, or Haoran, couldn't return to normal life. Too many enemies. Too many risks. So all 3 of them disappeared into a remote province, far from cities and shadows. They lived quietly, growing vegetables, raising chickens, healing old wounds. Sometimes May would catch Jian smiling at the sunrise, his sister laughing nearby. And she would think, a man with no past, at last had a future. A real one. One he built with the truth. And with her.